The United States is often considered one of the most animal-loving countries in the world, where abandoning a pet can even lead to jail time. Yet ironically, there are invasive species that Americans truly despise, to the point that they spend around $300 million each year just to control and reduce their populations. So what has driven such an animal-loving nation to launch such aggressive eradication efforts? And what have they done to wage this uncompromising ecological battle against these dangerous invaders? In today's video, Agriculture Insight will take you straight into the most intense ecological front lines across the United States, where humans are not only fighting to protect ecosystems, but also transforming seemingly uncontrollable threats into new sources of economic value. Considered one of the most hated animals in American history, Asian carp not only disrupt ecosystems with their astonishing reproduction rate, but also turn every boat trip into a gamble, suddenly launching out of the water and shattering the river's calm in an instant. Not native to the region, Asian carp were introduced to the United States in the 1970s to clean up aquaculture ponds. However, after flooding events, they escaped into the Mississippi River and triggered a massive invasion. Within just a few decades, their population grew to tens of millions, spreading thousands of kilometers and appearing in more than 20 states. Asian carp, especially silver carp, have an extremely strong startle response because their vibration sensing system is highly sensitive to low-frequency sound waves from boat engines. In the wild, leaping out of the water is a defense mechanism against predators. But in American rivers, every engine noise becomes an alarm, causing them to instinctively jump 2 to 3 meters into the air. These sudden leaps have injured many boaters and disrupted river tourism. Beneath the surface, their impact is even more destructive. They consume vast amounts of plankton, the foundation of the entire food chain, leading to situations where carp make up 70 to 90% of total fish biomass in some areas. When a single species dominates nearly an entire river, it is no longer an invasion, it is an ecosystem replacement. The dislike for Asian carp is so strong that a more than $10 million electric barrier has been constructed beneath the Chicago Sanitary and Ship Canal. Conductors placed 6.4 meters below the water continuously emit direct current pulses 34 times per second, creating an invisible wall that stuns fish on contact and forces them to turn back. However, this is only a temporary solution to block their spread. Alongside the electric barrier, river states also organize large-scale harvesting campaigns. Long encircling nets, up to 100 meters, are deployed to gradually corral fish into a confined area, then hauled in using mechanical winches. In addition, authorities even encourage local residents and commercial fishers to participate in reducing wild populations. The United States does not farm Asian carp for business. They exploit it as an ecological countermeasure. Fish caught from the Mississippi River are first sorted and inspected for quality, with those that do not meet size or condition standards being removed. Next comes the preliminary cleaning stage. The fish are washed with high-pressure cold water to remove mud, debris, and microorganisms on the surface. They are then transferred to the gutting and filleting area, where specialized machinery or skilled workers remove the heads, internal organs, and separate the flesh from the bones. Because carp contain many small intramuscular bones, an important step involves mechanical deboning or processing to produce meat that is easier to consume. The fish meat is then passed through a secondary inspection and refining system to eliminate any remaining small bones. Depending on the intended use, the meat may be kept as fillets, minced into fish paste, or cut into chunks. From there, Asian carp products marketed under the commercial name kopi are exported to various markets, particularly in Asia, where they are consumed as a familiar food source. With 18 venomous spines containing powerful neurotoxins, lionfish are as beautiful as angels, but as deadly as demons. Once a dazzling ornamental species in aquariums, they quietly escaped into the ocean and became an ecological nightmare for Americans, an invasive species that has thrown the Atlantic Ocean into chaos. It all began with an accident, a broken aquarium in a luxurious American residence. That single cut knot opened the door to the ocean, releasing a nightmare known as the lionfish. From an initial group of just 10 individuals, their population has now exploded to nearly 20 million across the ocean. The reason lionfish are considered a #1 enemy in the US lies in their nearly unstoppable traits. When they appear on coral reefs, they don't just hunt. They devour over 70 species of fish and crustaceans, including prey up to half their own size. In many areas, native fish populations have dropped by as much as 79%. Faced with this invasion, Americans have effectively turned the ocean into a battlefield. The most effective weapon is not bombs or massive nets, but a simple 1-meter pole spear in the hands of divers. They must approach their target within a few meters, hold their breath in moving currents, and strike with absolute precision. A single missed shot allows the lionfish to dart into coral crevices and disappear. Even when successfully speared, divers have only a few seconds to secure the fish in a specialized containment tube. But this work is extremely risky. Many divers have been hospitalized after accidental contact with the venomous spines. Worse still, these efforts can only control populations in waters shallower than 40 meters, while lionfish can inhabit depths of up to 300 meters, far beyond human reach. Attempts have even been made to train eels and sharks to hunt lionfish, but their rapid reproduction and cold adaptability have rendered hopes of natural control nearly futile. When all control measures reached their limits, people began promoting lionfish as food. Numerous harvesting campaigns were launched, and this once feared species has become a delicacy priced at $15–30 per kilogram in many coastal restaurants across the US and the Caribbean. Yet even after being caught, lionfish remain extremely dangerous. Their 18 venomous spines can cause intense pain lasting for hours. A single careless touch is enough to send a chef to the hospital. Therefore, before any preparation, the first step is always to disarm the weapon, removing all dorsal, pelvic, and anal fins. Only after the spines are completely eliminated can the fish be gutted and filleted, like defusing a bomb before entering the kitchen. People often think of crab as a luxurious seafood, served at upscale restaurants and elegant banquets. But the green crab is an exception. Not only is it considered cheap, it is also deeply hated as a long-standing enemy. Green crabs originate from Europe and North Africa, but thanks to transoceanic ships, their larvae travel in ballast water and quietly arrive around the world like invisible passengers. And once they reach new shores, disaster begins. They may not have venom like lionfish or leap 3 meters into the air like carp, but green crabs can consume up to 40 juvenile clams per day. They have wiped out over 99% of young clams in Maine, uproot seagrass which increases erosion, and destroy fish breeding habitats. Green crabs cause nearly $19 million in damage each year along the US East Coast and threaten the fishing industry. They were once dismissed for being small, hard-shelled, and spiny. Too much effort for too little meat. But if harvested at the right moment during molting, they become unexpectedly soft and sweet, turning a hated pest into a valuable delicacy. Fishermen lower steel traps onto the muddy seabed, baited with strongly scented fresh fish. Green crabs are lured inside through one-way funnel entrances, easy to enter, but impossible to escape. After 12 to 24 hours, the boats return to haul up entire nests of invasion, trapped inside the steel cages. The heavy traps are pulled onto the deck, where the crabs cling tightly to one another in cramped space. They are quickly transferred into containers or sent directly to processing facilities. For many fishermen, each haul is not just a catch, but a small step in the ongoing battle to control this invasive species. If harvested at the right molting stage, green crabs become completely soft and can be deep-fried whole, crispy, sweet, and surprisingly rich in flavor. You heard that right, crab liquor really exists, and it's a strange delicacy that sparks both curiosity and fascination. Soft-shell green crabs are carefully cleaned, then infused in strong alcohol, around 40 to 50% ABV for 30 to 60 days to fully extract their signature briny sweetness. This process preserves natural proteins and minerals, creating a light, rich flavor with a deep, lingering finish. In some places, batches of hundreds of liters are produced, turning a once-hated invasive species into a surprisingly valuable product. If you had the chance, would you dare to try this unusual drink? Leaving the ocean behind, we move to a giant reptilian predator from Asia. One that has thrown entire ecosystems in the United States into chaos: the Burmese python. Originally introduced as an exotic pet in the 1980s, Burmese pythons were accidentally released from wealthy households. Finding a climate similar to their native habitat in the Everglades, Florida, their population exploded and quickly turned into a nightmare. Burmese pythons are among the largest snakes in the world, reaching lengths of 5 to 6 meters and weighing nearly 100 kilograms. They are non-venomous but possess immense constricting power, capable of suffocating prey within minutes. Their flexible jaws allow them to swallow astonishing prey, from eggs, chickens, and pigs to deer, and they have even been known to battle alligators. In the Everglades, where they have almost no natural predators, Burmese pythons rapidly rose to the top of the food chain. The consequences shocked scientists. Raccoon populations declined by up to 99%, while foxes and rabbits nearly disappeared in many areas. Young deer, birds, and numerous small mammals have also been heavily preyed upon, severely disrupting the ecosystem. To combat this invasion, the state of Florida has implemented aggressive measures, including an annual python hunting competition with prizes of up to $10,000 to encourage public participation. Participants are trained to safely track and capture pythons in the Everglades. Each captured snake is recorded and removed, helping reduce ecological pressure while providing valuable data for scientists monitoring their spread. Beyond eradication, the U.S. has also sought to turn this invasive species into a resource. Python skin is used to make high-end shoes, bags, and belts. The meat is prepared by chefs into burgers, sausages, or grilled dishes, and python fat is widely used in traditional skincare and massage products. From an exotic pet to a massive apex predator, the Burmese python has become a formidable invader, one that the United States is now fighting relentlessly to control. With a body reaching up to 1 meter long and more than 100 razor-sharp teeth, the snakehead fish becomes a relentless predator, turning once quiet lakes into tense, silent waters and prompting emergency warnings across the United States. Before becoming an invasive monster in many regions, the northern snakehead originally inhabited rivers in China, Russia, and the Korean peninsula. While most fish rely on dissolved oxygen through their gills, this species possesses an auxiliary breathing organ similar to lungs, allowing it to surface for air, survive in low oxygen waters, and even live out of water for up to 3 to 4 days in moist conditions. Thanks to this rare adaptability, once introduced into a new environment, they quickly outcompete native species and disrupt entire ecosystems. To prevent the spread of snakehead fish, the U.S. government has implemented strict regulations. If people accidentally catch one while fishing, they are not allowed to release it back into the water. Instead, they are advised to kill or process it immediately. In many Asian cultures, releasing animals is seen as an act of merit and good fortune. However, releasing snakehead fish in countries like the U.S. can be considered illegal, with fines of up to $3,000 and even possible jail time. To control their population, many Americans actively hunt snakehead fish. Common methods include fishing rods with large hooks, nets, traps, and in some areas even specialized bows. When the fish surfaces near the water, hunters draw their bows and shoot tethered arrows to secure the fish before reeling it in. Some adult individuals can weigh over 7 kilograms, making them a real challenge for anglers. Despite their predatory nature, snakehead fish are often described as having firm, flavorful meat that can be prepared in various ways, such as grilling or frying. However, even though many acknowledge its taste, the species still carries the stigma of a dangerous invader, making it hard for many Americans to fully overcome their negative perception of it. Rats are among the fastest reproducing mammals in the animal kingdom. A female rat can become pregnant after only about 21 days, giving birth to 6 to 12 pups per litter, and just a few months later, the new generation begins reproducing as well. Under favorable conditions, a single pair of rats can multiply into hundreds or even thousands within a year. Beyond their explosive population growth, rats have also been linked to some of the most devastating diseases in history. The most infamous example is the Black Death of the 14th century, when plague bacteria spread by fleas living on rats killed up to 200 million people. But rats are not only pests, they have also amazed scientists with their intelligence. In experiments, rats can quickly find their way out of complex mazes, remember routes, and learn from their mistakes. This cleverness has led humans to use them for unusual tasks. In Africa, giant rats have been trained to detect landmines, thanks to their extremely sensitive sense of smell and bodies light enough that they do not trigger the explosives. As a result, they have helped locate thousands of landmines left behind after wars. In many cultures, rats carry very different meanings. In China, the rat is the first animal of the 12 zodiac signs, symbolizing intelligence and quick thinking. Meanwhile, in India, at the famous Karni Mata temple, tens of thousands of rats are revered as sacred creatures, and spotting a white rat is believed to be a sign of good luck. And without making you wait any longer, let's step right into a tense battle of wits between humans and this cunning animal to see how people hunt them and how they eventually end up on the dinner table. In New South Wales, Australia, when night falls over the wheat fields, a rather unusual job begins. Each night, farmers and local hunters head out with air rifles and spotlights to track the rats emerging from burrows beneath the fields. During a major outbreak in 2021, the rat population in the region was estimated to reach tens of millions, and an experienced hunter could shoot 100 to 300 rats in a single night when the swarms appeared in large numbers. The weapon of choice is not a large hunting rifle, but usually a small caliber air rifle firing lead pellets, accurate enough to take down a target at close range without making loud noises that would scare the entire swarm away. The reason is simple. Rats may be only slightly larger than a human hand, but they are fast, incredibly agile, and often appear for only a few seconds. With traps or chasing, they usually disappear before anyone can react. That's why in these night hunts, the most important tools are not just the rifle, but patience and a shot that is almost perfectly precise. On the agricultural front lines of many Asian countries, this hunt takes on a very different character. For farmers here, the harvest season is not only about collecting rice, it is also the season for hunting rats. Crop losses caused by rat infestations in some regions average around 15%. That number reflects months of silent feasting beforehand, as field rats gorge themselves on ripening rice grains, growing fat while hiding in the edges of fields, piles of straw, and networks of underground burrows. Once the harvesting machines begin moving across the fields, the second phase immediately begins, setting up the net traps. Long nets are stretched along the edges of the fields or arranged into narrow corridors, forcing the rats to run in a single direction. These nets are typically made from durable nylon or fishing line, with tight mesh strong enough to hold them. Standing about 60 centimeters high, tall enough to prevent rats from climbing over. Each net can extend dozens of meters, and at the end of the line sit funnel-shaped cage traps, where rats can enter easily but struggle to find their way back out. It is a simple, inexpensive design, yet remarkably effective. No toxic chemicals, no complicated machinery, just a deep understanding of how rats move. In the end, farmers effectively turn the entire field into a giant rat-catching system. In many rural areas, when traps no longer work against particularly cunning rats, farmers often turn to an older method, releasing dogs and ferrets to hunt rats directly in the fields. This usually takes place in the early morning or late afternoon, when rats are still hiding in burrows along the edges of rice fields. A small group of farmers walks along the field, using hose or sticks to open burrow entrances, while the dogs continuously sniff around the embankments to locate exactly where the rats are hiding. As soon as a burrow is disturbed, the rats usually panic and dash out into the open. Small rat hunting dogs immediately give chase, reaching speeds of 30 to 40 kilometers per hour, fast enough to intercept the prey before it can find another escape route. But if the rat manages to dive deeper into its complex tunnel system, that's when the ferret is released. With a body length of about 25 centimeters and an extremely flexible build, the ferret can slip through tunnels only a few centimeters wide, places where almost no other predator can follow. During a hunt like this, farmers can often open and check dozens of rat burrows in a single morning, leaving the entire field noticeably quieter afterward. The method may seem simple, but is actually a clever combination of a dog's sense of smell, a ferret's agility, and the farmer's experience. A traditional strategy that has endured because it makes perfect use of what nature already provides. In many rice-growing rural areas, rats are not only crop destroyers but also have a rather unexpected fate on the dining table. However, people only use field rats, the kind that live in rice fields and feed mainly on grains, wild seeds, and insects. Because of this natural diet, field rat meat is firm, lean, and almost free of the unpleasant odor often associated with rats living in sewers or urban environments. An adult field rat typically weighs around 200 grams, and during major outbreaks, farmers can catch dozens in a single hunt. After being caught, the rats are carefully cleaned. The skin is removed, the organs discarded, and the meat washed several times in salted water before being drained. It is then marinated with familiar ingredients such as lemongrass, chili, garlic, shallots, and fish sauce. When skewered and grilled over glowing charcoal at around 200 degrees Celsius, the skin slowly turns golden brown and slightly crisp, while the meat inside remains tender and naturally sweet. The aroma of grilled meat mixed with lemongrass and charcoal smoke often spreads across the yard, becoming a familiar scene during gatherings after the harvest. Besides grilling, stir-fried rat with lemongrass and chili is another popular preparation. The meat is chopped into small pieces and quickly stir-fried in a hot pan with minced lemongrass, red chili, and shallots. After just 5 to 7 minutes over high heat, the dish develops a golden color with bright red accents and a rich, spicy fragrance. The meat is tender with a slight chew and a naturally sweet flavor, often served with hot rice or enjoyed as a rustic drinking dish. In many places, field rat dishes are seen as a two-in-one solution. Hunting them not only helps reduce crop damage, but also provides an additional source of food for local communities. From a pest hunted in the rice fields, the field rat is transformed into a rustic countryside delicacy, with a flavor closely tied to the land. It reflects a curious cycle between humans and nature, where a creature once known for destroying harvests becomes a dish remembered by generations of farmers. But the situation becomes far more complicated when the opponent is no longer out in the fields, but inside the human home, under cabinets, behind refrigerators, or in kitchen corners. Rats that live close to human environments are often more cautious, adaptable, and much harder to control. They quickly learn to avoid light, sudden noises, and sometimes even remember places where traps were once set. That is why people don't simply place traps, they design strategies. Modern rat traps take advantage of one of the rodent's biggest weaknesses, an extremely sensitive sense of smell, and a constant search for food. A small scent, such as peanut butter, grains, or leftover rice, can attract a rat from more than 10 meters away. And that scent becomes the quiet invitation that draws them closer. These traps are carefully designed. The bait is usually placed deep inside the device, forcing the rat to step directly onto the trigger mechanism. Once the rat touches that sensitive point, even with very little pressure, the mechanism activates instantly. Everything happens in a split second, fast, precise, and often with very little noise. What makes these traps effective is not brute force, but an understanding of rat behavior. Rats constantly investigate new smells and search for food within their territory. Ironically, that very instinct often leads them straight into the trap. In that sense, a well-designed rat trap is not just a tool, it is a small exercise in psychology, where human observation and ingenuity stay one step ahead of a remarkably clever animal. Sometimes, dealing with rats doesn't require complicated devices. In fact, one of the most surprisingly effective traps can be made with just a bucket, a little water, and a small piece of bait. The idea relies on two well-known traits of rats: their extremely sensitive sense of smell and their constant search for food during the night. The trap itself is very simple. A bucket about 25 to 30 centimeters deep is placed on the floor or along a wall, areas where rats usually travel. A small plank or wooden stick is set up like a ramp, guiding the rat toward the bait placed above the bucket. Drawn by the smell, the rat walks along the ramp, but the surface near the bait is often unstable or slippery. With one wrong step, it loses balance and falls straight into the water below. What makes this trap interesting is its quiet persistence. A rat can swim for several minutes, but the smooth sides of the bucket make it extremely difficult to climb back out. In places where rats follow the same paths each night, a single bucket trap can sometimes catch multiple rats overnight. At first glance, rats may seem like nothing more than agricultural pests. Yet behind the scenes, they have quietly played a crucial role in some of the greatest breakthroughs of modern science. From these small bodies, researchers have developed vaccines, tested treatments for cancer and diabetes, and even explored the possibilities of gene therapy. With a genetic makeup that is over 90% similar to that of humans, rats have become an ideal living biological model, a place where scientific theories can be tested, where cells react, adapt, and reveal the pathways behind medical discoveries that have shaped modern medicine. Rats are not just present in laboratories, they are often at the center of experiments that have helped save millions of lives. A creature that may seem insignificant at first glance has become an essential bridge between human intelligence and the progress of humanity. Brazil is one of the rare countries where the cattle population outnumbers the human population. More than 200 million head spread across endless grasslands, turning the nation into the world's beef superpower. Brazil does not only raise familiar beef and dairy breeds, the country also possesses astonishing giants. The pure white Nelore dominating the pastures, the heavily muscled Belgian blue weighing over 1,000 kilograms like living blocks of steel, and the Holstein Friesian capable of producing dozens of liters of milk each day. In Brazil, cattle are not raised by traditional instinct but managed like high-performance athletes. Livestock systems operate with precision, featuring automatic massage machines that stimulate circulation, enclosed barns controlling temperature and humidity, and feeding, cleaning, and milking lines running continuously on optimized cycles. Here, livestock farming is no longer just agriculture, but has become a large-scale nutrition production industry, where technology and biology combine to maximize the productivity of each individual animal. Farewell to the cattle ranches. The journey takes us to vast Asean forests stretching across the Amazon, where Brazil supplies more than 90% of the world's Asean production, creating an industry worth over $3 billion each year. The Asean tree is a tall palm that grows widely in the Amazon rainforest, bearing small clusters of fruit hanging in bunches. The fruit looks like blueberries but is deep purple, almost black, with thin flesh and a large seed, so it is usually blended into smoothies or acai bowls rather than eaten fresh like other berries. The acai harvest season begins when Amazon locals tie a picona strap around their ankles and climb straight up palm trunks over 20 meters high using only their strength. No ladders, no safety ropes. They move like Spider-Men through the deep forest, repeating the motion hundreds of times each day. The purple clusters are cut down and must be processed almost immediately, because within just a few hours they begin to oxidize and lose their natural value. For this reason, grinding and freezing stations are placed right beside the forest, operating continuously to preserve full quality. Remarkably, these tiny acai berries have helped change the fate of the Amazon. If forests were once cleared for cattle ranching, today acai provides a more stable source of income, allowing many forest areas to remain intact instead of disappearing. Few crops are such that the more they are sustainably harvested, the stronger the incentive becomes to protect the entire forest. It would not be an exaggeration to say that if Brazil were to suffer a soybean crop failure, the livestock industries in Asia, Europe, and the United States would face a severe shock, as Brazil currently accounts for more than 1/3 of global soybean trade and acts as a regulating valve for the world's feed supply. Compared with the United States or Argentina, Brazil's soybean sector stands out for its vast contiguous fields cultivated in 2 crops per year, and its fleet of ultra-wide, highly automated combine harvesters operating more like a continuous industrial production line than dispersed mid-sized farms. From January to March, under the late dry season sun in Mato Grosso, combine harvesters roll into the golden sea of soybeans, lowering their headers close to the ground to gather each row with near-perfect precision, while internal systems continuously thresh and screen to ensure export standards. The stems and leaves are shredded and spread back onto the soil to prepare for the next safrinha corn crop. Golden soybeans quickly fill the grain tank. Once it reaches capacity, the unloading auger extends toward a truck driving alongside without interrupting the machine's rhythm. With a field capacity of around 50 tons per hour, each machine is not merely harvesting a crop. It is operating a crucial link in the global food supply chain. As soon as soybeans leave the fields of Mato Grosso, Brazil does not slow down. Safrinha corn is immediately sown, opening a new production cycle on the very land that has just been harvested. When harvest season arrives, the perfectly aligned fields are guided by data and synchronized mechanization. Combine harvesters lower their headers, feeding corn stalks into the threshing unit. Augers and stripping plates separate the kernels from the cob within seconds, while the stalks and leaves are shredded and returned to the field to retain moisture. Sensors monitor losses and moisture levels, and the unloading auger transfers grain to trucks driving alongside without stopping the machine. These high-capacity machines can harvest up to 60 tons of corn per hour under field conditions, helping position Brazil as one of the world's largest corn exporters. In addition, harvesting corn for animal feed also plays a vital role in dairy regions and feedlots. Unlike grain corn harvest, which typically takes place from June to August, when the plant has fully dried and the kernels reach safe storage moisture levels, Corn for silage is cut earlier, when the kernels are in the milk dough stage, and the whole plant reaches about 30 to 35% dry matter. Immediately, forage harvesters enter the field, cutting and chopping the entire plant into small pieces before blowing it into trailers running alongside for transport to silage bunkers, creating a stable fermented feed supply year-round. Like soybeans, corn is a foundation of the global poultry and pork industries. If Brazil were to suffer a crop failure, meat prices in Asia or Europe could immediately feel the domino effect. For this reason, Brazilian corn is not merely a crop. It is a strategic link in the global feed supply chain, where each season is operated and calculated like a large-scale industrial production system. Despite its delicate appearance, the lily is in fact one of the world's most profitable flowers, generating annual revenues of around $500,000 thanks to high-tech greenhouse systems that operate with the precision of a semiconductor production line. The journey of a lily does not begin in the field, but with a carefully selected bulb from the Netherlands, where generations have been selectively bred for uniformity, resilience, and precise blooming that meets strict commercial standards. Before ever reaching North America, these bulbs travel halfway around the world and undergo weeks of cold treatment at 2 to 4 degrees Celsius. A sophisticated biological deception that convinces the plant winter has ended and rapid growth should begin. Next, the lily enters a completely artificial environment. Inside modern greenhouses, the plant no longer depends on natural soil or weather, but grows in sterile substrates where pH levels and drainage are controlled down to the finest detail. Here, control belongs to humans. Farmers do not wait for plants to grow by instinct. They actively manipulate light, temperature, and nutrition to determine stem height and the exact moment when flower buds begin to open. Finally, when every parameter reaches its optimal threshold, lilies are cut while the buds are still closed, placed onto automated conveyor systems, rapidly cooled, sorted, and transferred directly to processing facilities. The next stage of the journey takes us to vast sweet potato fields, where beneath rich brown soil lie massive tubers, some as large as a watermelon. Thanks to exceptionally high yields, each hectare can generate revenues of up to $300,000 per harvest. In North America, sweet potato harvesting clearly reflects the level of modern agriculture. Specialized automated harvesters are engineered to dig and lift the tubers with high precision, minimizing damage. The sweet potatoes are then transferred onto conveyor systems, where integrated cleaning units continuously remove soil, keeping the surface of each tuber clean and intact. Right in the field, the harvest undergoes preliminary sorting before being loaded into large containers or linked transport systems. Through this closed and efficient process, farmers significantly reduce manual labor, shorten harvest time, and ensure consistent, stable product quality. More than 30% of North America's commercial plantation forests are covered by pine trees. Pine is not only an economic backbone and the soul of the holiday season, but also a silent ecological shield, protecting vast landscapes from environmental degradation. As a result, pine cultivation is anything but simple. Pine is a tree that demands rare patience. On average, a pine tree requires 9 to 10 years to reach maturity, a time span comparable to the training of a PhD. Only when it reaches a height of approximately 1.8 to 2.4 meters is the tree considered ready for harvest and fit to appear in the holiday season. Depending on its intended use, pine trees follow two distinct paths. Traditionally, harvested trees are cut close to the base for industrial purposes, while trees extracted with their entire root ball intact are reserved for decorative use, particularly as Christmas trees. Before leaving the forest, all branches are passed through specialized netting machines that compress the tree into a slender shape, protecting the needles and reducing transport volume. In rugged terrain, helicopters are deployed to airlift bundled trees out of the forest, bringing to a close the long journey of a species that may seem familiar, yet is shaped by discipline, technology, and time. Before entering the processing line, bananas are not fed directly into machines, but are gently lowered into large washing tanks, a mandatory rebirth step. Here, clean water jets cover the entire surface of the fruit, washing away dirt, residual sap at the stem, and invisible impurities. In some modern facilities, the wash water is treated with low levels of ozone or chlorine, enough to eliminate up to 99% of microorganisms while remaining safe for food processing. After being thoroughly washed, the next step is to peel the bananas completely. Workers score the peel with a knife, then soak the bananas in cold water to remove the sap and loosen the skin. Next, the bananas are then sliced by high-speed machines into uniform 3mm pieces, ideal for crispy chips. The slices pass through a gentle wash to remove excess starch before frying. And now, the banana slices enter their transformation stage. When fried in a traditional pan, the cook must carefully control the heat, constantly turning the slices by hand to ensure even cooking, prevent scorching, and preserve their beautiful golden color. In industrial fryers, however, the slices are immersed in oil heated to 180 degrees Celsius, automatically agitated, and evenly cooked in just about 2 minutes under precise monitoring. After excess oil is drained, the golden crispy banana chips are transferred into a rotating stainless steel drum for seasoning. With precise dosing, the flavor coats each slice evenly, ensuring every chip is crunchy, beautifully golden, and aromatic, ready to delight the taste buds. Before moving to the automated packaging line, the fried bananas undergo a final quality inspection. An intelligent electronic weighing system measures each gram precisely, dividing them into packages with preset weights. The bags are then air-sealed, tightly sealed, and transferred to the carton packing section. Next stop, let's head to Mexico, the heart of the global avocado industry. From the vast growing regions across the highlands of Michoacan, the country supplies nearly 45% of the world's avocado production, with annual export value exceeding $3 billion. Global agriculture has advanced to the point where robots can drive themselves, harvest, and sort fruit with remarkable precision. Yet avocados remain a rare exception. When it comes to harvesting avocados, humans are still at the very center. Avocado pickers do not harvest by quantity, but by selection. Only fruits that have developed for 8 to 12 months are kept, when the skin is still glossy, the structure firm enough, and completely free of blemishes. To reach the tall canopies, they use long poles fitted with sharp cutting blades, combined with sturdy ladders to access the most difficult spots. Each avocado is carefully caught as it leaves the branch and placed into a basket worn on the chest to avoid impact. They are then neatly arranged beneath the trees, ready to begin the next stage of their journey, with their skin fully intact. At the factory, thousands of freshly received avocados are immediately placed on automated conveyor belts, heading straight to the washing area. The process begins with high-pressure spray nozzles at 3 to 5 bar, spraying from multiple directions to remove dirt and impurities embedded deep on the surface. Immediately after, the avocados pass through a recirculating wash tank containing a food-grade solution, helping reduce microbial load and extend shelf life. Once thoroughly cleaned, each avocado glides beneath a computer vision system for rapid high-resolution inspection. In a fraction of a second, advanced sensors analyze color, size, symmetry, and surface defects. Only fruits that meet strict standards of ripeness, shape, and exterior quality are precisely identified, gently picked by robotic arms, and seamlessly transferred to the next stage of processing. From this point, the frozen avocado production process officially begins. The selected fruits are sorted and moved directly to the peeling and pitting area, where machinery pauses, giving way to skilled human hands. With just a few precise motions, the smooth avocado flesh is carefully separated and kept intact, ready for the freezing stage that follows. The diced avocado flesh is then transferred to a rapid freezing system at -4°C or lower. This process locks enzyme activity, slows oxidation, and preserves the fruit's natural color and texture, allowing for long-term storage without the need for chemical additives. Once the temperature is stabilized, the avocados are precisely portioned and packed into specialized bags. Vacuum technology removes up to 100% of oxygen, minimizing discoloration and flavor loss, allowing the product to remain stable for up to 12 months throughout storage and international transportation. Each year in late June, when the peaches begin to blush with soft shades of pink and gold and release their sweet fragrance into the warm air, farmers step into the orchards to begin the harvest, marking the start of a new season. Harvesting peaches is a gentle task that demands great skill. Pickers do not pull or break the fruit. Instead, they cradle each peach in their palm and give it a slight, careful twist so it separates naturally from the branch. Every peach is received softly in the hand, avoiding contact with fingernails to protect the thin, velvety skin. Even the smallest scratch can cause the fruit to deteriorate quickly. Farmers often wear canvas picking bags at their hips, allowing them to place the peaches in carefully without pressure or bruising. A qualified peach is one that is mature enough. The pit has hardened, the flesh remains firm, the stem looks fresh, and the branch still sways gently after the fruit is removed. What makes this process special is that peaches are not harvested by quantity, but by the precise moment of ripeness. Too early, and they lack flavor; too late, and they become too soft. It is this human precision that creates a taste no machine can replace. After harvesting, all the peaches are gathered and transported to the factory for the next stage of processing. At the factory, the process begins with a crucial step: washing the peaches. Their fuzzy skin easily traps dirt, while the delicate surface can be scratched with excessive force. Instead of high-pressure sprays, the facility uses gentle swirling water combined with bubble tanks. Tiny air bubbles penetrate the fine fuzz, lifting away dust without scrubbing. The water is maintained at a neutral pH to preserve the fruit's natural color and structure. The peaches are then transferred to an automated sorting line, where only those meeting size and shape standards are selected. Immediately afterward, the peaches move on to an automated sorting line, where only those meeting standard size and shape requirements are retained, ensuring uniformity and precision in every stage that follows. After being thoroughly washed, the peaches are transferred directly onto the peeling conveyor line, where the next transformation begins. The movement is steady and carefully calibrated to prevent bruising, ensuring each fruit remains intact as it enters the processing stage. For larger peaches, the skin is automatically removed using specialized peeling machines designed to follow the fruit's natural contour. In just moments, the thin outer layer is cleanly stripped away, revealing smooth, golden flesh beneath. Once peeled, the peaches move to the pitting station, where workers remove the stones by hand with firm yet precise motions, keeping the flesh whole and minimizing waste. In more advanced facilities, the entire sequence, positioning, peeling, and pit removal, can be completed fully automatically in as little as 3 seconds per fruit. Guided by sensors and precision blades, the system transforms raw peaches into perfectly shaped, uniform halves or slices, ready for the next stage of processing with remarkable speed and consistency. After peeling and pitting, the peaches are cut into evenly sized pieces and sent through a second washing stage. This step not only cleans the surface, but also removes the cellular juices released during cutting. a factor that could cause the peach pieces to lose freshness and discolor up to 30% faster if not treated immediately. Next, each peach slice is gently placed into glass jars and immersed in a clear syrup made from purified water and sugar. This solution not only adds a mild sweetness, but also helps the peaches maintain their bright golden color, plump appearance, and stable texture throughout storage. After being filled with syrup, the jars are transferred into a sealed heating chamber. Here, the temperature is carefully controlled to sterilize the product, eliminate any remaining microorganisms, and lock in flavor, allowing the peaches to be safely preserved for an extended period. Once the heat treatment is complete, the jars are labeled, printed with expiration dates, and packed into cartons, ready to leave the factory for distribution to the market.